All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to welcome y'all to the January 17th Mississippi Advisory Commission meeting. I'd like to start by apologizing for my absence last month. I had a little mess up with my calendar there. I'd like to ask Commissioner Roberts to lead us in the pledge this morning.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Joe, you want to lead us in a prayer this morning?
Thank you very much. And, first, before we start the prayer, I'd just like to tell everybody, there's a lot to be thankful for. If you saw what happened last week in the tornadoes and they came through Alabama, especially in Georgia and North Mississippi, there were some areas there, and we were lucky not to have any damage. A lot of people had a lot. I know it was 7 people killed in Alabama, and I'm not sure of the other numbers, but we're lucky every day that we're spared. So just thank the Lord for it. And good, let's go to prayer. Lord, we thank you so much. We thank you for having the opportunity to have a commission, and we thank you for having the opportunity to have a Department of Marine Resources. Lord, it is just amazing the things that you have given us and the things that we're able to use. And we just ask you that you take each and every one of us and give us your wisdom to be able to do it your way and not ours. We ask this in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Joe. All right, we got a whole list of minutes to approve here. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from November 15th, 2022? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion to approve the minutes from August 16th, 2022.
I'll make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And motion to approve the minutes December 13th, 2022.
I'll make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. I need a motion to approve today's agenda. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Mr. Joe, we're going to turn it over to you.
All right. Well, first off, welcome to a new year, 2023. We'll see what happens here. We're looking forward to a great year for the state of Mississippi and for the Department of Marine Resources. We are putting together a lot of things that we're working on. We're finishing up a lot of different issues. One of the things that we're doing that is going to be very, very important to South Mississippi is we're finishing our Mid-Britain diversion, our study on it. And so soon we'll have it done and be able to bring it out and let people know what we see on the hydrology side of that. And we're also going to be working on the one on the ecological side of it too, to see what's going on. That should happen in the next month, and we'll be able to hopefully before next month to be able to brief that and bring it out, and so we'll know what we're looking at. If you have any type public comment, TJ's in the back there, and so just see TJ, make sure you give it to him so we can get it on the agenda. All right, let's see. We need a motion, if we could, to modify the agenda. I'm sorry, I messed it up. I should have done this before you accepted it, because I see this now. We need to change the meeting for February 21st to February the 14th. The 21st is Mardi Gras. I don't think we're going to get too much participation. So would y'all entertain modifying the motion or just change it? Sandy, how do I need to do that since I'm
Director, we could actually take that under other business and not have to
All
modify.
right, we'll
the
just
Okay,
take it
I'll-
under business then, okay?
Go ahead and move it down to there.
All right. Legislative updates. We have several things in the legislature right now. The major thing that we're doing is, there's a couple of things that we're working on to be able to change the license where if you're on a crab boat, everybody there doesn't have to have a license, and we make it where it's the same as it is oysters or shrimp. So that'll be a good deal for everybody on that. We're also changing the wording of what a marina is, and it's just basically clarifying it and putting it more into where NOAA and EPA is, and it's nothing, everybody that's already there is grandfathered, it's not a problem. We've got a couple of updates with, the big one is gonna be well, Marine Patrol, we're doing some stuff with that. And it's basically just changing the wording to say that we can match up to the federal side of it, what we're looking at. It's things that nothing real major in it. The other thing that we're changing is the on-bottom leases. And we've got a new bill written for the on-bottom leases. You know, we had some written last year, but they had some issues with them, and so we did not do any of that. So we're working with the legislators, and hopefully we'll have this done. That they've already introduced the bill, or about to put it, and so it's going to be a bill to where we've sat down with the staff, and we've decided on the Western Gulf what we really need to keep as far as DMR to be able to be public reef, so we can have it for two things. Number one, the public reef area, and then also for a reproduction and being able to keep the estuary going and make sure we're doing it. The rest of it, we're going to offer up for a lease, and we have it in different areas and showing them what we're going to do. Some has already been leased, and it'll be according to whatever we have spent on it. And the way it'll work is if it's just bare ground, we may not charge but $2 an acre to be able to do it. But if it's full of culch, it may be $10 an acre, you know, so it's going to be a number. There's going to be a number in there that we work with, because it's not fair to give you something that it state's already spent money on, and then me have to go buy it and put it on there. So we're going to try to make it as equal as we possibly can. I've got a lot of people that are very interested in trying to get in on bottom oysters. Hopefully this will work, and we'll see what's going on with that. We're in the process now of working on the oyster setting facility as to how we want to operate. We did a feasibility study, and it came back basically what it would cost us to do it. Now we're doing another expanded feasibility study on it, and hopefully that'll go through. We're working with DEQ on it, and hopefully we'll have permission to do that in the next month, and we'll be able to move forward. And I think it'll be a way. The idea is to be able to put the oysters in the water, and so we're going to try to do what we can to do in the best way possible. If I miss anything, Rick, on the legislature, there's probably another one or two but they're minute, whatever they were. And I can't. Sandy, you remember anything? Okay, so we'll be working with them and see what they can do. I'm also gonna talk to the legislatures about giving us some extra money to be able to do our own MREP studies and do it the way that we need to do it, and do Mississippi style and to work it out. So I'm going to talk to them about it and see what the deal is. But we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Any questions on legislation? Well, anybody that didn't see the whale? Kind of a ironic situation, but I mean, I guess looking at it from all indications I was given, that is a very juvenile whale, only like 15,000 pounds and only like 30 feet long, instead of being 80 feet long and 100,000 or more pounds, whatever they get up to. But it was a fin whale, is that right? At first they thought it was a rhesus whale, which was really rare, which there was only 33 known in existence. And I'm glad it wasn't one of them, so at least we don't have something like that taken out of the system. But this one is not that. There's 4,000 or 5,000 of these, I think, known in existence. But it's very rare. I have not been given the official results on it, and I don't know if anybody else has yet. But I'm sure they're working on it, and they're Moby in that group, and everybody's working on it. So we'll know what caused the whale to pass away. But it brought a lot of attention to South Mississippi. All right, council meeting we got it on January the 30th through February the 2nd in Baton Rouge. We will be talking, I will wait and let Trevor talk more about this when we get to it, but we'll be talking about snapper. And Trevor has fought hard for us, and I tell you what, he did a great job with us last week over in the SSC. Trevor, thank you very much. And he did a great job fighting hard for us over there, and we'll talk more about it as to what's going to happen. I don't know the answer yet. I know that everybody's trying to work with us, and we're trying to do the best we can. They have to do what they have to do scientifically, and I can't do anything about it. But they all know that Mississippi's not overfishing, and we're doing the right thing. But we have to live by the rules, and that's what we will do, and we'll do what we need to do. MDMR Capital Day will be Wednesday, the 8th of February. It's at 8 a.m. that morning, so we'll go up and have a Capitol Day. Charmaine has not been able to pull the string to get my biscuits in there yet, and my shrimp and grits. But you know, we're gonna be there. We'll be showcasing the DMR, so if you want to come up there. About derelict vessels, started in July the 1st. As the report I have right now, 71 have been. We have 71 that we've been tracking. Out of that, 53 have been removed. 18 are pending removal, and we have 0 court orders right now. So we're doing good. It's amazing, and Stephen and them had worked hard on that, and Roy, and we have a new person, Glenn Turrell's helping with it too, and they've been working very hard on this, and it has turned out very good to be able to move that many vessels. And I tell you what, they're keeping it going. And Roy's out there every day chunking one out somewhere. He's finding one. If he's one out there, he'll find it. So he's doing a great job. And I think the legislature, we're going to ask them to continue funding this, and which I think they will with no questions. We got President's Day coming up on the February the 20th. So that's the day before Mardi Gras. So but since we're going to look at changing the meeting, I don't think it'll make any difference with that. Until I can think of something different, that's all I have right now, sir.
Thank you, Joe. Did any of our commissioners have anything to report today?
Need to go into the
I
employment
see right
contract.
here, she didn't put this on the list. Never mind. All right, agency update. Employment contracts, we got them? Yeah, that was not on my list.
I missed 1 month and you can't figure out how to work everything out.
Hey, I might, you know. Glenn Terrell's our new contractor, in case you, and he's in internal affairs and CID, and he's also helping out. All right, we did the agency update, right? Is anything else I've missed on the agency update? I did all that as we go, and the actions. What?
Yeah.
Oh, we got a contract?
Oh, yeah, you did.
WC4, I thought we did that last, that's what, we couldn't pass it. WC4, we got a $2.1 million contract to be able to move some Barry Island reef, offshore artificial reef. So could we get a motion?
You don't need a motion for
Don't
that.
need it? Okay.
No, we're good.
Boy, 2023 starting out good.
Okay, you ready for actions update?
Is that next on the agenda?
That's next on the agenda. And we don't have an actions update this month because last month we didn't have a quorum. But what we did was we went ahead and went on with the presentations, and those presentations are on the agenda again this month. That's G1A and K1A1. And Commissioner Daniels wasn't able to come last month, so he reviewed those presentations online. And when those presentations come back up, the commissioners can ask questions and make their motions then. And that's it.
All right, so we don't need to do anything?
All right.
And then we'll just go ahead, okay. All right, am I back on track yet?
I think you're done.
It's time to be quiet.
All right. Nothing for any of the commissioners to report today. Chief, we're going to go ahead and bring you up.
Well, how's everybody doing? I mean, it's a new year and we're looking forward to it. Our December itself was not a slow month, but it was above average on so much citation and everything. Nothing really jumps out at me. I mean, the Fenwell and we had a manatee wash up too. We assisted on both, dealing with that. It was televised, so we got a little I don't know if it's good PR or negative PR, but we got it, so we have to live with it. But at the end of the month, it was a really good month on stopping. Let me take that back. Not stopping people, but assisting people. And there's about 1,300 plus stops, and it went really well. So, any questions, please address them.
Anybody else got anything? Looks good, Chief. Keep it up.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. Coastal Resources Management. Looks like we're gonna have Jennifer Wilder up.
I think y'all thought it was good, everybody. Lonnie, you thought it was good too.
I wasn't here last month.
I said, Lonnie, you thought it was good.
This looks like it's in my backyard.
If y'all wanna see something, he can show it to you. We just didn't know if you wanted to go through any of it or not.
No, I'm gonna just look through it real quick.
It's basically where they had some area there before, and, she's just trying to replace a lot of it.
Okay, that's right by the bayou there.
And it's
Yeah,
not-
right on the, that's the existing right there. Yeah, they'll just build a new one on the inside.
Looks fine to me. So do we need to make a motion on this?
I do.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept staff's recommendation?
I will make a motion to accept the staff's recommendation.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, Miss Leslie? Oh,
Brandy's gonna take her place today. Good morning.
Yes. Leslie couldn't be here this morning, so I'm filling in for her. Let's see. Okay. My name is Brandy Busby, Director of Finance. I'll be presenting the agency's financials for the month ending December 31st, 2022. At the end of December, our state revenue was $4.6 million. Our total agency revenue was $19.4 million. Our state net income was $959,000. And our total agency net income was $3.7 million. After 6 months of fiscal year 2023, we have 89.8% of the operating budget remaining, while the Tylen's budget has 76% remaining. You have any questions?
no, ma'am, thank you. All right, Charmaine?
Good morning, Commissioners, Director Spraggins, Legal. The Mississippi Department of Marine Resources had 4 media mentions since the December MACMR meeting. News items included shrimp season closing north of the Intracoastal Waterway and our marine information calendars being distributed along the coast. The calendars are still available here at the Bolton Building and at locations along the coast for anyone still looking to get them, and I also have some in the back as well. That's it.
Apparently those are hot ticket item in Pass Christian.
Are everywhere, so.
Thank you, Charmaine.
Is the boat show this weekend?
No, the boat show is going to be the first weekend in February.
First weekend?
Yep, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All right. Trevor.
Yep. You want to go ahead and cover Snapper before the records, correct? Okay. First off, good morning, commissioners, everyone. We had a meeting, the SSE held in their January meeting, in which we covered the motion that was passed by the council to review the red snapper calibration ratios and for the states to derive any updates to those calibration ratios that they saw fit. Florida, Alabama, and Mississippi took advantage of this motion. All presented information. Louisiana still only has 1 year of data to work with, so there's doesn't change. Texas still continues just to use their landings. For our state, I presented the scenario that was provided to y'all in previous meetings, in which we used waves 3 and 4 and years 18 through 20, and provided our justifications as to why we thought that was the appropriate way to move forward. There were a lot of questions for every presentation. I mean, this is 25 or 26 of the SSE members, which represent a lot of folks from the academic community, the federal fisheries biologists, state fisheries biologists across the board. So there was a lengthy discussion. It lasted almost 10 hours in total. At the end of it, we provided substantive evidence, and essentially our ratio was granted what we had proposed. Now, what had changed in that ratio, and it was an oversight on our part, and also when we submitted the proposal, it wasn't caught, but the CHCS to FES ratio, which is the Coastal Household Telephone Survey to the Fishing Effort Survey, that's both calibrations of MRIP. Rather than it being a fixed ratio, which we had assumed, right, because we used the table that was provided to us in 2020 when the initial calibrations were used. So we used the ratio of 2.18. That ratio varies in time because it's model based, and it depends on which years and waves you use. It forms to that year. So that ratio went from 2.18 to 1.66. So rather than 109,000 pounds, it's now our ratio gives us 82,000 pounds. So we have an improvement, right? We went from a 60% reduction to a 50% reduction. It was scientifically reviewed thoroughly, and the SSC did what they were asked to do by the council. The options now, I know the director said, we got to work through some things. Now that it's outside of the scientific side, the Science and Statistical Committee goes up to the Gulf Council, and that's a whole nother discussion that can happen on the management side of things and everything else. So we're continuing to look for options, continue to try to get us to that original number of what was proposed of that 110 to 120 range. But for now, we did have an improvement, and I think the biggest thing to take away here is that the SSC, the federal managers, they understand the position we're in now. I know sympathy doesn't really get you very far in a lot of cases like this, especially in the scientific realm, but there was a lot of sympathetic views and understanding to what Mississippi is facing right now with how variable the estimates are that are coming out of our state and the difficulty we're facing in this calibration. Just as one other thing, the motion passed 11-5 with 5 abstentions and a couple folks absent. That shows you how divided the room was to a degree, how much thought process there was, because the views range anywhere from use all available years, 18 to 21 or whatever else, to the proposal that we provided was accurate, to let's just use tails and scales for what they are, right? All of those options were discussed across all the members. So it's just, it's very difficult to come to a consensus decision on the scientific side with the SSC when there is so much information there that just counters one another. And both surveys do exactly what they're supposed to do. Both of them are sound. It was a tough discussion, but I'd say we came out overall positive. I know it still probably doesn't seem that way with a 50% reduction, but we took a step in the right direction, and now it's moving to the next side to see if we can't work out something on the management side of things. But if y'all have any questions on this, I'd encourage y'all to ask, because I'm sure we're going to start getting some questions from your constituents and everybody else soon.
And also for people to understand, they don't. I don't think anybody there agrees that the MREP works and it should work for the state of Mississippi. I don't think they agree with that at all. But because the allocations and because the numbers were given off of MREP is the reason they're saying they have to stay with this. Is that correct?
Yeah. So right now, the current overall ACLs were derived from MRIP CHTS, which is the Coastal Household Telephone Survey. Those quotas were derived, and they've been used on the management side for the last 7 years now. What occurred, if y'all remember, let's go back in time a little bit, right? 2017, we had a federal extension from the Secretary of Commerce. 39 additional weekend days were applied to the season. The very next year, there were EFPs that were requested for all the states. In those EFPs, each of the states requested what they thought which should be their appropriate number to use for those EFPs. And what we used was the 2017 harvest, because prior to that, we had non-compliant state seasons, limited federal seasons, all kinds of stuff. So we went ahead and went with the application of, well, what we harvested in 2017, we'll put that forward and we'll use tails and scales to monitor. Now, over time, what happened is 18 and 19 occurred with the EFPs. It was successful. And then we moved into state management. And when we moved into state management, you operated outside the exempted fishing permits. And then this calibration started coming up where you had to calibrate to what the current ACL was. And that's when kind of this started, because right now, tails and scales is about 50% of what CHTS produced in the past. And so that's kind of the situation we're in. We did the best we could with our state to request exactly what we thought we needed. And 3 years later, the scenario changed and it brought in state management and brought in calibration. So, it's a difficult management scenario to go through and trying to fight for, but we are a very small amount of the quota. 3.5% is all we requested in the beginning.
And I mean, and on the scientist side of this and all, they worked hard on this. And I think that if you looked at it, that at the 150,000 pounds, give or take a few pounds one way or the other over the years, that has been a good number for the state of Mississippi. And that is a number that I believe that the scientists have told me that this is not overfishing. This is doing what we need to do. This is harvesting the amount we need to harvest if we do it. This year we stayed open 100 and how many days? I don't know, all the way to the end of December. And we only caught 128,000 pounds, something like that. I forgot the exact number. Do you have it, Trevor?
Yeah. So we were open for 187 days total. We caught 85.8% of the ACL, is about 130,000 pounds.
Yeah. So the point I'm getting at is the management of it by us going back and using the 2017 figures turned out to be pretty good. It turned out to be a really good allocation for the state of Mississippi. The MREP is just the thing that's causing it not to work. And you got to understand, MREP, they got 80,000 people who bought a saltwater fishing license in the state of Mississippi last year. Well, they send out a number of surveys to these people on a telephone survey. They call them or whatever. And the question, did you go fishing this year? Well, if you did, then you fished every day and you caught the maximum amount that you could catch with about 5 people on board. That's about, am I correct? Similar to that, something in that number? I know I'm exaggerating some, but
no, the figure of the overall trips that are taken from MRIP on angler trips and the comparison to the license database shows that on average, each angler has to take, I think, 57 trips a year, which is a trip every weekend plus one, which even our most avid anglers strive to accomplish, right?
Well, the weather's not there either.
No.
And, the amount of boats that they were saying that we would have done was, astronomical on the amount that we even have on a normal day. And even the 4th of July, we didn't meet it on the 4th of July for what they were thinking. But the point I'm getting at is they know this. They know they got skewed data. They know it's not correct. But they have nothing to do but to follow what they have. Now, there is a lining at the end, right? And the lining at the end is we got another 2 years or year and a half to when we do the complete new assessment.
Yeah, it should be 2 to 3 years. When the research track assessment is finished and the operational assessment goes through, that'll provide new management advice for the fishery.
And then they will use state data. Is that correct?
The motion that was passed within the research track is to take what has been completed from the transition group process, which is essentially the research across the different surveys, not just ours, but Alabama's, Florida's, and MRIP, start to figure out where these comparisons are and figure out what the main issues are. And at that point, once we flesh that one out a little bit, be able to try to use the state information and the derived information into the new update assessment for management advice.
And, and another defense, what was it, 2016, we had 3 days?
2017, it was proposed to be 3 days.
And then we went to 39.
39 extension from the Secretary of Commerce directly. It wasn't a agency decision.
But I mean, just think about it. We've come a long ways even where we're at. We can still manage our resource and we can still be open the Memorial Day weekend, and we can still be open through July the 4th, just like we normally do. I believe that'll be fine. Then we'll come back and then manage it accordingly of what we need to do. But as far as the charter boats and the other people, we're going to give them as much advance information of what we can so they can book their trips and do things that they need to do. And we will make sure that we work it. And I believe we can work it within what we have here. I can tell you that NOAA is talking to some other states to try to help us. And so we might even see a possible bump in what we're getting now. And there could be a possibility. I won't say why and who, but I'm just telling you, they understand. They understand. It's just that their hands are tied. And I believe that's the best way of putting it, in, unless you got a better way, which you're a lot smarter about it than I am.
I've just been dealing with it, I think, a lot. So yeah, I mean, the difficulty of it is that MRIP itself is on all scientific review and statistical rigor. It is statistically appropriate. It does everything it's designed to do and everything it's supposed to do. The thing that wasn't taken into account to a degree, right, when pilot tests and all that were done, because they were done in states like Florida and North Carolina, is that there was this thought process that the survey should just be high throughput all times of the year. And what happened in the implementation side of it is that when you get to small states like ours, where you're not intercepting as many anglers and you're not seeing hundreds of anglers on a day, all of a sudden you start getting to the point where one survey on one day is representative of the entire 2-month period. And that can play out, somewhat variably. If we have a wave 5 where we're open for 5 days and we get a survey that's on Saturday at West Beach in Jackson County and the weather's good, all of a sudden that ratio of anglers, right? If we stop 40 anglers that are red snapper fishing, that's representative of the entire ratio of the entire month. So then all that effort from that month, that ratio, the effort gets attributed to that. And so all of a sudden it seems like we're harvesting 130,000 pounds when in actuality, we just had one survey that was on the wrong day and it played out exactly the way it was designed to. It's the nature of it. But there's nothing taken back saying that what they did isn't scientifically appropriate or statistically valid, because that has been vetted multiple times. It's just the difficult nature of trying to compare two surveys that do fundamentally different things and produce fundamentally different results.
And when you got 5 states operating 5 different ways,
yeah,
and it's entirely hard for them to figure out what's right and what's wrong. I think, and eventually we will get to the point where state surveys are there, and state surveys have more, have the majority of the weight on it, and that'll be good, because our state survey is the best one in the Gulf. I believe wholeheartedly to that, and that we can justify our survey better than any other survey. I would love to have that survey to the point to where I could do more with it. I would love to be able to do all reef fish with it, especially, and in the future, but. I mentioned doing speckle trap, but they told me I was out in left field, so I won't do that one. And but there's ways to doing it, to be able to do surveys, to be able to give us everything that we can to match up to what we need to do. Trevor, I just want to applaud you. I really do. And what you did last week, I listened to a lot of it. Washington listened to it. Senator Wicker's office sent me notifications telling me. I talked, the state directors from the other 4 states told me about it. The NOAA directors told me about it. They said that you were outstanding, and I agree 100%. He was the greatest thing we could have had right then at that time, as far as speaking for Mississippi, and we appreciate you, friend.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's everybody here, right? Staff and everybody that's been doing the research for a while. And one thing not to gloss over a little bit is that as we, there's a reason why we want the work to be completed within the transition group as far as the research and everything else goes. That's why there was hesitancy to apply the state data directly into the assessment, the research track assessment now. It's because there's a lot of work to be done and to figure out what's going on with our state and MRIP and everything else before we rush through and start applying in state data and deriving new management advice and getting stuck with that management advice. To us, the proper direction is to figure out where the misses are, figure out where the disparities are, That way you have a better understanding. That way when the research track assessment is done and the operational assessment is conducted, all states and all stakeholders can have confidence in what's being done. That way, when it comes out, no one's sitting there questioning all of it. Now it's Red Snapper, so I'm sure there's going to be some questions, but at least there'll be some confidence across the board with it.
So, it, are y'all saying within a year or two, maybe 3, that's whenever our data will start being applied?
So it'll be put into an assessment. So right now, the state data, since it's been derived, this is the newest assessment that's coming out. The last one wasn't run while all the state data were done and finalized. So in order to put that into an assessment, you still have to calibrate the entire time series back in time. We can't just throw 5 years of tails and scales in there and say, let's figure it out. The assessment is scaled back all the way to 1981 for landings, and then goes even further back with outside information that was derived. So I'm pretty sure the landing stream goes back to near the 1900s. So within that, there's work to be done as far as going back in time. And I certainly had my hesitancy on going ahead and trying to make those comparisons now when we've been talking about everything we've been talking about. So to me, it's more important to figure out why what's happening in Mississippi is happening. Why are wave 5 estimates so high and variable? Why does that wave 3 estimate go from 200,000 pounds to 600,000 pounds to 200,000 pounds to 800,000 pounds, right? Let's figure out that stuff before we go ahead and try to cement this whole thing and say, this is the comparison between state surveys and MREP. This is how we go back in time, and this is the new management advice we're getting. To me, it's more important to figure out that side of it, because that'll give us more confidence in the accuracy of the information that's coming out and more reliability on the management advice that comes out of the assessment.
And Trevor, the Alabama took a substantial cut also in this, right?
Yeah, so they improved kind of like we did. I think they went from 50% to 40%. So they proposed 2 years, 20 and 21, and the motion that was passed was 4 years, 18 to 21.
But and also that once again, we got to live with what we get. We got to understand what we're doing. NOAA's big brother, and it's going to tell us what we're going to have, and we're going to have to find a way to live within what we do. It's one thing I will never ask to tell anybody to do, and that is to violate policy or anything else or do something that's illegal. Now, I didn't understand, one of the things that got me, and Trevor and I talked about this and others, that Louisiana used 1 year data, and 1 year data was able to set what they needed, and they came out very good with it, but yet they're telling us that 5 years data is not good enough. And that's what that's what I keep putting them. I'm not letting them sit still on this. And I'm like, okay. And their answer was, well, Louisiana did 1 year against 1 year. We married up, and they married up against MREP. And they do kind of do a similar study that MREP does. And ours is different than that. But the point is, I'm not letting them back off. We're not going to back off on them. We're not going to be anything. We're going to do what we need to do. We have fought this out. It's been, 4 years now that we've been fighting it very hard.
Yeah. When the comparisons first started coming out between the two surveys and figuring out these patterns, we've just learned more and more every year as we continue to look into the data.
If we'd have given in 4 years ago, we'd had 50,000 pounds. That'd have been it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't given in, and we're not going to give in. And we're going to continue to fight for it. We're going to continue to do what we need to do. And I do want to make another announcement today on this as far as the council. Dale Diaz is stepping down as the director of the council. And Dale came to me last week, and he asked me about it, and he told me what he wanted to do, and it come out public today. And as at the end of January, he will be stepping down as the president of the council for Gulf Council. Dale's doing it. It's just a lot for him right now in his life and what he's doing. And he has done a fantastic job. And the other thing was that the council, the Gulf Council, we're going to be able to do the federal side of it this year, where we have 2 big events, one in the spring and one in the fall. Well, it would have meant he would have had to have another whole year to be able to do it and do what needs to be done. He feels like it, and being as non-selfish as he is, because he's not selfish at all. He said, I think it's best for me to step down now and not wait till August, so we can put a new person in there that could be able to do both of those meetings and continue to do it. And I think that is admirable, and I don't think Dale's here, but we thank him for what he's done. He was the president last year, been the vice president for 3 years, 2 or 3 years, and as president this year. So he is a chairman, and he has done a heck of a job and doing a great job doing it. And we understand that. But, life goes on. You have to do what you need to do. And I'm sure it takes the travel itself, being the chairman of that council is unreal. Just the travel is unreal itself. And, he's like me, not getting any younger, and he needs a day or two off every now and then to do something. So anyway, we will be looking at that. We'll be looking at who is Greg Stuntz is the vice chair right now, and it's whether Greg will step in or not, I don't know, or whether he'll just say, hey, since I time out in June, he may not, I don't know, and we may pick a complete new chair. So we'll see what happens there. But before y'all saw it on the news, I figured I'd tell you about it. And it just came out this morning. But Dale's a great guy, done a great job. And but once again, he'll still be on the council with us, and he'll still be talking. Okay. Trevor, don't forget our saltwater fishing record.
Let's do it. All right, so we got one from the previous meeting, and it's a scrawled filefish. I think I got the remote right here. As old record's 4.8 ounces, new record's 3 pounds, 2.45 ounces. Angler's Mr. Tommy Phelps. Picture of the fish. Picture of Tommy with the fish. We just need a motion to recommend the adoption of the new state record.
We have a motion.
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we will have some interesting ones next month. We've got a mutton snapper, which we've never had on record here. And then there's a smoothhound species that we also don't see very often. So we'll have some cool ones.
Nice. Thank you, Trevor. All right. Other business. Can we have a motion to move the February meeting to February 14th, 2023?
I'll make a motion to move the February 21st meeting to February 14th.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Do we have any public comments, Jeff?
I don't see any public comments. Anybody have any?
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Did you get that W?